Last night you slept with your back to a door. You didn't check the room. You didn't take turns. You didn't post anyone to watch the entrance. You just closed your eyes in the dark and stopped paying attention for 8 hours. No animal on Earth does that. Not one. Sleep is the most dangerous thing a body can do, and every other species treats it that way. Deer sleep in bursts of a few minutes at a time. Ducks sleep with half the brain shut down and one eye physically open. Dolphins never go fully under because if they did, they'd drown. You went unconscious, face down, in the dark, and nothing came. For almost the entire time our ancestors have existed, that was not an option, because something was already outside. There's a story we tell about early humans, and it goes like this. We came down out of the trees, we picked up a sharp rock, and from that moment we were the hunter, the thing at the top. That story starts about 2 million years too early. For most of our history, we were not the predator. We were prey. Not tragic, unusual prey. Ordinary prey. The kind that turns up in a carnivore's diet often enough that you can put a number on it. And we can put a number on it, because the animals that ate us left the bill. In 1924, a South African anatomist named Raymond Dart was handed a small fossil skull out of a limestone quarry at Taung. It belonged to a child, an early hominin, roughly 3 years old, dead for about 2.5 million years. Dart spent the rest of his career arguing that this child was proof our ancestors were natural-born killers. He had it exactly backwards. In 2006, researchers Lee Berger and Ron Clark looked again at the Taung Child's eye sockets. There were punctures in the bone at the base of the orbits, small, curved. They matched the damage a modern African crowned eagle leaves when it drives its rear talon into a monkey's skull and hooks the eye socket to hold the head still while it feeds. The single most famous fossil of a human ancestor. And it's a bird's leftovers. But here's the thing. Once you know what you're looking at, it's everywhere. At Swartkrans, another South African cave, there's a fragment of a juvenile skull catalogued as SK54. 2 clean round holes punched through the top of the head, about 30 millimeters apart. In the 1970s, the paleoanthropologist C.K. Brain took a fossil leopard jaw that had been dug out of the same deposit and set its lower canines against those 2 holes. They fit. Exactly. The leopard had carried a hominin child up into a tree by the head, the same way leopards still carry impala today, and the bones had dropped into the cave underneath. Brain wrote the book on what those caves actually were. He called it The Hunters or The Hunted. The answer is in the title. Those caves were never our homes. They were somebody's pantry. So how often did this happen? Anthropologists Donna Hart and Robert Sussman went looking for an actual figure, using predation rates measured in living primate populations. Their estimate, somewhere between 6 and 10% of early hominins died in something's mouth. Take the bottom of that range, 6%. In a band of 40, that is more than 2 people, every single generation, eaten. And some of what hunted us looks purpose-built for the job. Dinophalus was a cat about the size of a jaguar with short, flattened, stabbing canines, and it turns up in the same regions and the same rock layers as our ancestors. Brain suggested it may have specialized in hominins. That part is still argued about. What nobody argues about is that it was there, it was fast, and we were exactly the right size. So what changed? The obvious answer is weapons. We got sharp things, and once you can stab a leopard stops being a problem. That falls apart the moment you check the dates. Our ancestors were napping stone tools 2.5 million years ago. The Taung Child died with stone tools already in the world. Swartkrans has stone tools in it, and burnt bone, and it still has that leopard-punctured skull. But we had cutting edges for well over 1 million years and stayed on the menu the entire time. The second obvious answer is that we just got smarter. But a leopard does not care how clever you are. It cares whether it can reach you before you know it exists. Intelligence is worth nothing against an animal that has already made contact. Cats like that don't win fights. They win surprises. Which is the real answer. We never beat the predators. We deleted the surprise. An ambush hunter needs 3 things: cover, isolation, and darkness. Over the next 1 million years, we took all 3 away. Isolation went first. Alone, a hominin is a snack. 40 of them screaming and throwing rocks is a broken rib waiting to happen. And a wild cat with a broken rib starves. Baboons and chimpanzees still do this. They mob. They surround the predator and make themselves the most expensive meal in the area. Then darkness went. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, there's ash and burnt bone sitting 100 feet inside the cave, in a layer around 1 million years old. That is not a lightning strike reaching 100 feet underground. That is fire that was carried in and kept alive. And here's what makes that so important. Fire doesn't kill anything. Fire changes the arithmetic. A predator hunting a camp has to walk into light, into noise, into a group that is awake and facing outward. For the same amount of meat, it could take off a sleeping antelope in total darkness. It isn't worth it. By roughly 300,000 years ago, we'd taken the last piece. At Schöningen in Germany, archaeologists pulled wooden spears out of an open-cast coal mine, shaped and weighted at the front like javelins, built to be thrown. A leopard's entire strategy is closing the final 20 feet unseen. A thrown spear turns those 20 feet into the most dangerous ground in the landscape. Cover, isolation, darkness, group, fire, distance. That's the whole story. We didn't outfight anything. We made ourselves a bad investment, except the fear never left. 2 million years of being hunted doesn't uninstall when the hunting stops. It's still running. When something frightens you badly, your body pulls the hair on your arms upright. That reflex is piloerection. It's the thing that makes a cat double in size. It works if you have fur. You don't. Your body is still executing the command anyway. When people are truly terrified, they scream, and a human scream sits in a rough, jagged frequency band that your brain routes differently from every other sound. That isn't conversation. That's a mobbing call. It is a noise engineered to bring the group. Children are afraid of the dark, of snakes, of large, staring eyes, of the space under the bed. In every culture on Earth, with nobody teaching them. They are not instinctively afraid of cars, which are what actually kill them. Your fear isn't calibrated to your world. It's calibrated to Swartkrans, which brings it back to last night. You slept with your back to a door and nothing came, and that is one of the strangest facts about being alive right now. Every generation before the last few thousand paid for that in shifts. Somebody sat up, somebody fed the fire, somebody watched the dark so that everyone else could stop watching it. You still feel the edge of it, the pause at the top of an unlit staircase, the urge to walk a little faster to the car. The reason a horror film reaches for a low growl and a shape at the edge of frame, it isn't being clever. It's using a key that already fits the lock. We didn't stop being prey because we got dangerous. We stopped being prey because we stopped being alone in the dark. Every light you leave on tonight is the same decision, made by the same animal for the same reason.